Great to have you along, and great to have back with us State Senator Mike Azinger from Wood County. Mike, good morning. How are you, sir?
Morning, Tom. Good. How you doing?
I'm all right. So where are we now with the Senate? I guess you guys have been on recess until the House passed some sort of revenue measure, as you guys call it. I call it a tax increase. Mm-hmm. And so now that comes back for consideration. And I guess you guys will have to reconvene. When is that going to be?
Well, we're meeting 11 o'clock this morning. We have session, so that's when we'll get. We've been off since Thursday, I think. But yeah, so we get going again this morning.
Okay. And what are the differences? I mean, I don't know if you've looked at what the House passed on Friday. I don't think it's a lot different than what they passed in the regular session, but have you looked at that, and what are the differences between their broadening the base tax plan and what the Senate passed?
Well, I think that philosophically there's a huge difference. You know, there's is a tax increase, and ours is a tax transformation. You know, the tax plan that Robert Karnes is coming up with, and some other, then frankly that Mitch and the leadership have done a real good job on leading with, is tax transformation where we take West Virginia to on the road to becoming a no income tax state. And a year or two ago, in the Executive magazine, I was reading it. And there was an interview with Art Laffer, who, as you know, worked for Ronald Reagan. Mm-hmm. Laffer had in this interview, he talked about West Virginia and how West Virginia should go towards a no-income tax state. And this it grabbed my attention. I just have been a fan of this from the beginning. I wrote an article in the Parkersburg News and Sentinel about it. And then Karnes has just done a great job leading on this. And This is tax transformation. You know, this is giving hope to West Virginia, and the House bill really doesn't do that. You know, it's just another fix for another year. This is visionary. This is looking ahead at West Virginia and taking West Virginia towards becoming one of the prosperous states in the Union.
All right. And look, I am for the elimination of the income tax in West Virginia. And I think a lot of conservatives are. But how does the Senate plan get there?
Okay. Senate plan is it's changed a lot of times, and keeping up with it isn't an easy thing. But Senate plan first of all, it takes it at its present state, takes our income tax from 5 brackets to 4. First year, there are some tax increases first 6 months because the income tax doesn't go into effect until January 1, 2018. So the first fiscal year, there will be about $109 million in tax increases. And then in 2019, you'll have $77 million in cuts. 2020, you'll have $141 million in cuts. 2021, you'll have $177 million in cuts. 2022, you have $223 million in cuts. So first 5 years, Tom, you have essentially $600 million in tax cuts. And then there's other triggers and so on after that to eventually get to where we have no income tax, zero income tax at all. And as you know, Tommy, the most prosperous states in the nation are no income tax states. And this would be huge. It would be transformational. So you're right in loving the idea of getting rid of the income tax.
Okay, Mike, how did you talk about these other states that have zero income tax? How did they get there? Have they always been that way, or did they scale back like you're talking about with West Virginia's or the Senate's plan, or did they just wake up one day and say no income tax?
Well, I think that one or two states did just wake up and say no income tax, and I think there were big problems that they had with that, and I think that that's why Robert Karnes is the way we're doing it. There's certain political realities that are involved with this, but also just they got into problems when they did it cold turkey, so to speak. So this is just not slowly getting there, but getting there year by year, and eventually having zero income tax.
And by what year would there be no income tax according to the Senate's plan?
Yeah, I can't tell you that. I don't think anybody actually knows the exact year. There's certain triggers that come along that the income tax is lowered, triggered by the amount of revenue coming in that on other taxes. But to say the exact year, I don't think anyone actually knows the exact year. But sooner is what conservatives want to do, as quickly as possible.
I believe what you and Senator Carnes are talking about and what you want to do. I believe your motives are good. I do not think that the people of West Virginia trust the system, lawmakers, or anybody else in government to make that happen, whether it's 3, 5, 10 years down the road. I don't think that anybody believes that it's actually going to happen.
Well, I think that, Tom, that people have a right to be cynical. I understand that. I'm cynical about politicians, and a lot of folks are, but it's happened in other states. This is not something that's never happened before. This is something that has happened in other states. And, this can happen in West Virginia also. It's just the first 5 years already set in place. If you have the first 5 years set in place, then you have a pattern that you go with, and it can happen in West Virginia. There's no reason. The problem with these other tax plans, like the ones in the House, like I said, these are just little fixes that we're doing year by year with no visionary transformation in the tax plan. You and I are baseball fans. I believe that you are a Reds fan. Is that right?
Yes, I am, unfortunately.
Okay. That's unfortunate. It is. I'm a Pirates fan. We're in last, but we're on our way up, buddy. So anyway, we're baseball fans, and I lived in the Chicago area for about 15 years, and the people in Chicago never thought that they would win. The Cubs would win a World Series, but last year the Cubs won a World Series after 100 years. When you're in such a funk for year after year after year, you think that you're always going to be that way, and that's how West Virginia is. We're in this funk, so to speak, that we've been on the bottom of the totem pole, last on the list of everything, and we don't think that we can have transformational economic tax reform and so on. But we can. We can do this with the political will and with leadership. It can happen. The Cubs won the series last year after, 100 years, 105 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And, just because it hasn't happened before or hasn't happened in a long time doesn't mean it can't happen.
Well, and I appreciate that. However, I mean, just look at things like the West Virginia Turnpike Authority, which or the Parkways Authority, what it's called now. The governor wants to give them the authority on the DMV fee increases. The governor wants to continue that entity. That entity should have been gone a long time ago, Mike. I mean, the Turnpike's been paid for a long, long time ago, and the people of West Virginia, back when that road was built, were told, hey, these booths are going to come down. Once this road's paid for, this will all go away. Obviously, that didn't happen. There's been other promises that government has made by, with fees and taxes and so forth, and they've not gone away. In fact, it usually gets worse. That's why people have a problem trusting, oh, yeah, well, we're doing it this way, but eventually the income tax is going to go away.
Yeah, I understand that. I'll be voting against all those, the fee increases, the Parkway Authority stuff. But you got to. But also, I think it's only fair to consider that Republicans took over the majority 2 years ago, and things have been, we do deserve some credit. Things have been changing. We had just momentous in transformational tort reform also in the last 2 years. There's been some real supply side changes in the economy in the last couple of years, and I think it's only fair to also consider that we have new leadership in Charleston, in both houses, in the Senate, in the House, and that we have leadership in place. We have the political will, and getting rid of the income tax, it would be a huge thing for West Virginia. It just would be. The most prosperous states, like I said, Tom, the most prosperous states are no income tax states: Florida, Tennessee, I think Washington, and so on. But that's where people come, And this also includes getting rid of the tax on military benefits. Best people, what better people to attract to your state than military people? And one of my good friend of mine from high school, I sat and had long meetings with him, and he just went over and over, talked about how he wants to come back home to West Virginia. Everybody wants to come back home to West Virginia, but nobody can. And so let's give them a reason to do it. This is, what will attract people more than no income tax? Everyone goes to Florida because that's where all the professionals go, because there's no income tax. People with a lot of money, no income tax. Florida, West Virginia doesn't have beaches, but we're a beautiful state. We are a beautiful state, and we can bring people back to West Virginia.
Well, we got Beach Fort down here, so that's something. We're talking with State Senator Mike Azinger from Wood County. All right. So on the other side of this, while you're phasing out the Senate, I'm talking about the Senate plan here, while you're phasing out the income tax, what is being done to keep revenue where it needs to be on the other side of this? So with the gain comes some pain. What is the pain?
Are you talking about in terms of
tax? Is there a sales tax increase? What is the increase to offset the reduction of the income tax?
Well, the increase in sales tax goes from 6% to 6.95, and then there's some other taxes, telecommunications, and other stuff that some other tax increases that will be implemented during the phase over to a no income tax state. But like I said, first year there is an increase of about $109 million net increase. But after that, then you have a $77 million cut in 19, and $140 million in 20, $177 million in 21, and $223 million in 22. So yeah, there are some tax increases initially, and some of them are I think it's the income tax or the sales tax that's sunsetted. I think I'm right on that, but anyway, initially there's a few. There are some income tax. There are some tax increases, but in the coming years, though, you got first 5 years of this, you have a $600 million tax cut.
Okay, so I know you've heard the argument. You're up there in Parkersburg, down here in the Huntington area, or up where McGeehan is, or Falk, and some of those guys that are on the borders. Everybody's saying if you increase the sales tax, they're just going to go over to wherever, Belpre or Marietta, and they're going to buy stuff there rather than buying it in West Virginia.
Right, but what happens county on county when you have a county that is a no income tax county versus a county that has a lower consumption tax? The counties that have no income tax always prosper versus these counties that are counties that have the income tax but a lower or no consumption tax. The no income tax counties bring prosperity. You got to remember also these people are getting a major cut in their income tax. They're going to have more disposable income, and it works. It works in these states where they get rid of the income tax.
Okay, here's the other thing about that. And I was talking about How do you know that that's going to come to fruition later on? Um, right now, Republicans have the majority. 2018, 2020, things could change. Democrats could come in, or any new legislature could come in and totally redo this plan. Then you've got people paying on the front end a higher sales tax immediately, and then they don't see the reward of that down the road with the elimination of the income tax if a new legislature changes this plan.
Well, if they come in and change it, I mean, a new legislature, say the Democrats take over and they start, they can raise taxes on anything, anytime, anyway. But if we pass this bill with no income, that's getting rid of the income tax, then our base is going to say that Republicans are doing something transformational. This is something visionary. This isn't something that's going to be done, year to year, a little fix here, a little fix there. We're talking about something visionary, something that is going to transform the state. So if our base, conservatives, whether Republican or Democrat, but conservatives see that we're doing something that's going to radically change the economy in West Virginia, then they're going to come and vote for us. But if we just do a little thing here, a little thing there, and patch this and patch that, and don't do anything that's transformational, then I think we could lose our majority. This, I think, with this income tax bill, I think that our people, that citizens of West Virginia will say, this is bringing us hope. This is bringing us hope.
We're talking with State Senator Republican Mike Azinger about the differences in the revenue plans. The bottom line is this. You have a special session to deal with the budget that the governor called, and yet here we are. It'll be 3 weeks coming up this Thursday, and to date, there has been no budget bill presented. Is that correct?
That's the way I understand it. There's no budget yet, right?
So what he wants to see is he wants to see basically his $450 million that he wants coming through. Does either the Senate or the House plan, to your knowledge, get him to where he wants it to be?
Well, I don't know, Tom. He wants a revenue bill before he passes the budget, and all I know is I'm voting against any of those other tax increases. I'm voting for the income tax. I supported that, voted for that, but the other tax increases, I'm not there on that, no way. But I don't know what's going to happen on those. I understand why he's waiting on the budget, but we're meeting down here at $35,000 a day, and there's no budget.
Yeah. So probably what's going to happen is, Ms. Carmichael and Tim Armstead are going to get together. There's going to be some type of compromise. Well, first off, there's got to be the Senate. You guys are going to, I'm guessing, you're going to vote down the House revenue bill.
I would say that will happen.
Okay. And so then it'll go into some kind of conference committee. And at that point, probably leadership's going to sit down and try to come up with some type of compromise. Is there anything about the House bill that you think the Senate would take up and be happy with?
Well, I think, there's some good things in the House bill. I think it has a net increase of $100 million in taxes, but there's a few things. I remember it does eliminates the tax on Social Security, I believe. It also eliminates taxes on military benefits, so like those things. So it's not totally bad, but it is, in essence, tax increase.
Mm-hmm. With theirs, though, the sales tax stays at 6%.
Right.
But they remove the tax exemption for telecommunication devices, which your all's bill does the same thing. Is that correct?
Right.
So what does that do? What does that mean?
Well, I think, I don't know the exact details on that, cell phones and so on, but there's also, in our bill, like electronic data processing services, digital goods, and so on. But I don't know exactly on the telecommunications what that would mean in a practical sense. But, I would say cell phones would be involved with that.
See, here's the thing. West Virginians are already paying so much for their utilities, and people are if they're like our family, they're getting rid of, Frontier. They're getting rid of their home phone, and they're going to just cell phones only. But everybody in their house, rather than just have one phone that you pay taxes on, everybody in their house has got a phone. If you got a family like mine, we've got 5 people, soon to be 6, that will have phones, and now we're going to pay 6 times the tax that we would have paid if you start taxing cell phones. So you got that situation. And in talking about utilities, Mike, this is kind of off the subject a little bit, but I brought it up earlier. Have you or any lawmaker that you know of looked into the PSC or the high utility rates that West Virginians are paying? Because every time West Virginia American Water, AEP, Mountaineer Gas, whoever, every time they want a rate increase, they get it. Now, they may not get what they asked for, but they get a rate increase. And the people of West Virginia are sitting back going, what? How did this happen? How come my electric rates are going up?
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree with you on that. It's just I think I'm not a tax guy. I mean, the reason the only thing I'm for in this whole deal, Tom, is implementing the income tax cut, getting rid of the income tax. That's the bill I'm for because it's a net tax cut. The other stuff, I'm against all these tax increases. All of them. We're a state that we're taxed too much. We're regulated too much. We have too many boards and too much red tape, and everybody's leaving the state, and so on and so forth. We've heard it a million times. So, I'm not for that. I don't know what we're going to do, but we need to become a state that is easy on its people and easy on its businesses, and start getting people back here. And raising taxes isn't the way to do it.
All right, Republican State Senator Mike Azinger from Wood County, back in session today at 11 o'clock. Mike, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
All right, my pleasure, Tom. Good talking to you.
Same here. Take care. All right, 8:26, back in a moment, Tom Roten Morning Show.